Back in episode 9, I talked about the incredible importance of customer confidence. One of the things we found in the research we did a few years ago back at Gartner was the single biggest driver by far of the likelihood of a high quality, low regret deal is the degree to which customers report a high degree of decision confidence. That is, that customers are confident not so much in you or your brand or your product or your thought leadership or your trusted advisoriness, but rather that they're confident in themselves and their ability to make a large scale decision on behalf of their company. Now, what's really interesting about this idea of confidence, first of all, is that data tells us that that's exactly what we need to do. We need to run everything through the lens of customer confidence. How is our digital experience? How are our individual seller interactions helping customers to feel more confident, not in you, the supplier, but in themselves and their ability to decide on behalf of their company. But particularly when you look at the specific dimensions of confidence, you find something really interesting because the dimensions of confidence be things like how confident are we that we even asked the right questions in the first place? How confident are we that we thoroughly explored all the alternatives to this particular solution or even this particular course of action? How confident are we that we conducted sufficient research as part of this project? And just how confident are we that we're collectively aligned on the problem that we should solve, let alone the right solution, let alone the ultimate supplier? Now, what's especially interesting about all these dimensions of confidence, well, they sound kind of logical. If you sit and pick them apart, you think, well, when does a deal get done? Well, a deal gets done when those things are true. But stop and think about what those things are actually telling us, right? Because it begs this question, all right, so customers need to be confident that they've asked the right questions. Great. Okay, here's an interesting question about that. Which questions are the right questions? Are those the right questions? Are these the right questions? What if I think these are the right questions? You think those are the right questions? How much research exactly is sufficient research? Is it counted in hours? Is it counted in white papers? Is it counted in months? Is this a sufficient research? No, no, you think I should have done just a little bit more, or maybe I'll get in trouble if this goes sideways, so maybe I should do a little bit more. There's no clear finish line to sufficient. How thoroughly have we explored alternatives? What does thorough mean? Is it like my thorough? Is it your thorough? And how well aligned are we around the problem or the solution? What does alignment mean? Are we like super aligned? Does ours go to 11 on alignment? Do we have an 11 alignment score? And so what you find is, as you start picking this stuff apart, you find something actually kind of troubling from a supplier perspective is none of these things have an objective finish line to them, right? The right research is the right research. What does right mean? And so on down the list. And so ultimately what you find is that customers make a decision on behalf of their company, not when they know these things, because they're not actually knowable that those are the right questions, that research was sufficient, that that examination was thorough enough. Rather, they don't make these decisions based on what they know. They make these decisions based on what they feel. And that ultimately is a critically important aspect to understanding how B2B commerce happens is that customers have to feel a certain thing. And specifically, it's based on an emotion as much as it is a rational thought. And that emotion specifically is in fact the emotion, if it is in fact an emotion, a feeling of confidence. So are those the right questions? I don't know, but I'm pretty confident those are the right questions. Have we done sufficient research? Well, I'm pretty confident that research was sufficient. So the question that we have to solve for is not what do our customers know? Here's another fact. Here's another white paper. Here's another piece of information. Here's another business case. We have to solve for a feeling. How likely are they to feel that those are the right questions? How likely are they to feel that research was sufficient, and so on? And that raises a really interesting question. I think this is what sets the best star performing sellers apart from everyone else, is that they're really good at helping their customers feel a certain way. And that is specifically to feel confident in those things, not feel confident in me, but to feel confident in themselves. And that, I think, is what's so cool. The heart and soul of this human aspect of selling is that the best way for us to sell effectively is not so much to change the way customers perceive us, which is what we're all solving for, but to change the way that customers perceive themselves, to help them feel better about themselves, to feel more confident in themselves. And if you can do that, if you can tap into that, man, that is a ticket not only to just incredible performance, but it is also a ticket to just being a really good person. And at the end of the day, that's kind of what it's all about.